Hey, how you doing, Tim?
Doing pretty good.
Welcome everybody to Between Two Viewers. I got Tim Kowalczyk here on the show today. Make sure I say that correct. And you actually know Kevin Kowalski too, don't you?
I know several people that you've had on your show.
Oh, good.
But yes, I know Kevin. I went out there twice, I think, to California. Once before the pandemic and then once after the pandemic for workshop related things.
Very
and got to hang out with him in person, and him and I communicate fairly regularly.
Yeah, very nice guy. I enjoy him.
Yeah.
Speaking of California, as I was geeking out through your Instagram trying to find some good questions to ask you, I didn't even notice, but Danny Trejo has one of your mugs, huh?
Yeah, I got in contact with his Instagram because he's been putting out non-alcoholic tequila and gin because he doesn't drink because and I reached out to his media team and I was like, how do I get a cup to Danny?
Yep.
And they're like, send it to us. And I was like, really? That's it? Like,
Yeah.
and they were like, oh, we'll shout you out. And I'm like, oh, I don't care. I just want to, privately know that Danny has one of my cups.
Yep.
And then they shot me that video where he's like, Tim Ceramics. I'm like, what is going on right now?
Dude, as I was scrolling through that, celebrities are cool and everything, but I was like, dude, Danny effing Trejo. No way.
Yeah, like, previous to that, Bert Kreischer, I went to one of his shows in Portland, and I had given Bert one of my cups.
I love that.
And I think Bert's response was the best. He goes, what the fuck is this? I'm like, it's a cup to drink out of. And he goes, okay. Like,
He's funny.
yeah, he's just like, I don't think he could really, like, fathom,
I
like,
can't
what he
believe
was
they made a
holding.
movie out of his Russian story.
Well, I mean, that whole story is just insane, and to know that it's true is even more ridiculous. You know, it's like, wait, that's true? Like that whole thing is true? Okay.
So, do you not drink as well, or what?
I don't know what I am. I'm an intermediate drinker, so I drink every once in a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't make a habit of it, but like I'm not shying away from it either. So
Gotcha. I quit almost 23 years now. It was better for society. People ask me, I usually tell them I'm allergic. I say every time I drink, I break out in handcuffs.
nice.
Right? I wish it wasn't as factual as that, but it is. I had a crazy time back in the day. I just grew up in Long Island and didn't know any better. You know what I mean?
Sure. It works for some people. And like I said, I don't drink all the time. I just drink every once in a while. So,
yeah.
Let's say the end of March, perhaps, I might have a couple of drinks.
What's up at the end of March? Anything?
Encika.
Oh, yeah. You're going out there?
Yeah.
Very cool. Are you in a pop-up?
I am not. I juried the K through 12 Utah ceramic show.
Dude, that K through 12 honestly is one of my favorite parts of NCCA every year.
Yeah, it's really good work. They're cranking out some good things. I know Kyle Guyman, and him and I are pretty good friends. And he just asked me if I'd be willing to do it, and I was like, sure, because I also, besides my studio practice, I teach at a high school.
Yep.
So he was just like, it's kind of a perfect fit. It's a really easy, sell it for as far as the Utah crew goes.
He's somebody else I got to reach out to, Kyle.
Yeah. But you got to promise me, if you reach out to him, you got to talk to him about how tight his shirt is.
You got it. That's like Meg Callie. She said, when you talk to Kevin Kowalski, tell him how great his hair looks.
Yep.
I will reach out to Kyle. He'd be fun to have on the show.
Oh, he's an amazing dude. He's got so much knowledge, and it's, he's so willing to share everything he does. And
yeah.
So
I'd really like to chat with him more too, because I kind of hunted him down at Insika and saw him in the elevator.
oh
I
yeah.
was like, dude, and he like looked at me like, whoa, who's this dude? I was like, you're Kyle, I know you. He's like, yeah, nice to meet you, bye, you know.
Well, I think that's been the weird thing about social media in general, right? Is like people come up to you and they're like, "Hey, man, how's it going?" It's
Yeah.
like,
No idea
"Good."
who you are. Yeah.
Like, "How's it going?" And they start talking to you like they know you, and it's like, "Who are you?"
yeah, yeah.
Like, I have no idea who you are. And they're like, "Oh, I follow you on Instagram, and I know you from this and this." And I'm like, "Okay, cool."
Yeah.
Like,
Cool.
you might want to lead with your name next time.
Yeah, here's an idea. Yeah, that's too funny. When I was at Insika last time, a couple of people came up and said, "Oh my God, you're Mike Griffin. I learned so much from watching your videos." And
Yeah.
you know, one lady, she said, "Can I take a picture with you?" And I said, "Sure." And I told my wife that. She says, "That's the last thing you need." So you have kids. I noticed you did that. I saw the one video of the cup review with your daughter. That was cute.
Yeah. So during the pandemic, I have 2 kids. I have a son and a daughter. And during the pandemic, you know, we're all trapped in the same house together. So I have about 250 cups on my cup wall. And I was just like, let's talk about cups. And I really got to know my kids' taste in cups. And they learned some things about like how to identify wood fire cups and how to identify glaze and all this other stuff. So it was a nice teaching moment for me, but that kind of just dropped off. And then one random Saturday I popped my daughter on there. I'm like, come here, we're going to talk about this cup that we just got. And she's like, okay.
How old's your daughter?
She is 11. She's in 6th grade, and my son is a freshman in high school.
Cool.
The high school that I teach at. So
Yeah, where do you teach?
I teach at Fieldcrest High School in Mononk, Illinois.
Mononk, Illinois. I forgot to ask you where you were from. So Mononk, Illinois. Is that where'd you grow up? Illinois, or?
Yeah, I grew up in Morris, Illinois.
Uh-huh.
It's like up by Joliet in Chicago-ish. Like it's still like an hour and 15 from Chicago. But then when I went to undergrad, I went down to Carbondale, Illinois, which is down at the lower end of Illinois. And then moved back to central Illinois. And I always tell people that I've lived in 3 different regions of Illinois, because northern Illinois is very different from southern Illinois, and southern Illinois is very different from central Illinois. And it's like Illinois could really be 3 states.
What school is down there? Is that Carbondale College?
Yeah, it's Southern Illinois Carbondale. At the time that I went there, it was Harris Deller and Steve Grimmer. And then right at the end, we had an interim teacher, Yukari Factura, right before Patty Chalmers took over. Mm-hmm. And then I went to Illinois State in Normal, Illinois, which is about a half hour from where I live now. And that had Tyler Lotz, and we hired Albion Stafford.
Yep.
And then we got a really great thing because Tyler Lotz's wife is Erin Ferimsky.
Okay.
So, like, she was around and able to talk about work. And then Albion Stafford's wife is Claire Hedden, who is also a really great ceramicist. And she teaches at, I think, Illinois Wesleyan College in Bloomington now.
Looks like you're holding the same knife I'm holding. Is that the
You mean the best knife in the whole wide world?
Yes, Dolan. This show is now sponsored by Dolan Tools.
I wish. Sue, get on this crap. Like,
Right?
I'm going to have to buy like 12 knives from her.
I love these things. I've had this forever, and I tell everyone on the show too. I'm like, you got to get one of these.
Yeah. I used to swear by just a paring knife. And I think it was Steph Galley who's like, nope, you got to get a Dolan knife. I was like, nah, I don't need it. This works fine.
Yeah.
And then I tried it, and I'm like, holy crap. Because this is, I don't know, I covered up my thing so I don't look at my face.
Yep.
So when I slice this with the Dolan knife, it doesn't compress those corrugations.
Yeah. Yep.
So I'm able to slice it and still have the detail.
Yeah.
There.
Very cool. You know, I used to use an X-Acto knife, and it was hard for me to believe that this was better than an X-Acto knife. You know, until I used it, and now I'm like, I'll never touch that X-Acto knife again. Do you know Austin Riddle? All right, got to hit record again. Go ahead. So you're in stations. Yep.
Yeah, so I have stations. So after I found the Dolan knife, I had to like beg with Dolan tools. I'm like, I need like 6 of them. And they're like, you need 6? One's fine. I'm like, I am not looking for this knife everywhere I go. I want one at each one of my stations, and that's it. Like,
Yeah.
so now at each one of my stations, I have a Dolan knife just so I don't have to like go find it or search for it. And the
Yeah.
6th one is actually my backup, so it just sits in a drawer.
That's a great idea. I almost changed my Instagram name to Looking for Tools. You know what I mean?
You
Because
know
half the time I'm like, where the hell did I put that?
how
And
real that is hurts.
yeah, the older I get, the worse it is. Honestly, you know. Yeah. Yeah, I sent a message actually to Aramont the other day. I got a friend down there, and I said, you know, Aramont should just sponsor this workshop, this podcast. I talk about you guys every show.
You keep trying.
Yeah, I'm going to ask them. And Amico. Have you been to Aramont?
I have not. No.
It's a fun place. I think you would dig it.
I don't. I don't know. Like, I've always felt like academia is not. I don't know. I'm not academic when I talk most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well,
I feel like that reflects on me negatively.
You and I
So
could spend an entire hour talking about just that, probably.
it's it's just so rough because when I was in undergrad, I was told to talk like you're trying to talk to your parents. And I'm
Uh-huh.
like, okay. And
Do they know the relationship you've had with your parents?
right, like I'm like, okay. And my parents are smart people. Like,
Yeah.
that's where I get my craft sensibility from. But I definitely don't know. Like, my dad came over, I think, like a year ago, and he's looking around my studio and he goes, I still don't get it.
Ah!
I'm like, get what? He goes, how you're making a living off of this. And he goes,
Thanks, Dad. Always good to see you.
right. He didn't mean it like, he's just like,
Yeah.
it was unfathomable for him, I think, because he is artistic. Like, that dude can match paint colors and varnish colors like nobody's business. And he's, but like for his son to have a business as an artist, he's just like, I don't get it. I don't get how that's possible.
You think that's a generational thing, or?
I think a little bit. I think a little bit is just, upbringing too. Like my dad grew up in very different circumstances than I did. And I think that forms a lot. I don't think he realizes that how much him and my mother like really encouraged me and my brother to be artists and supported our vision of being artists. So it was rather interesting to hear him be like, it's just weird. And it's like, well, you raised us. Like,
Yeah.
why is it weird?
Now you tell me.
Yeah. You could have told me that a long time ago. I wouldn't have struggled so much.
It's funny you say that because I was at my mom's house yesterday. I was actually going through town to get clay, and I said, I'll stop by for a quick hello. I got to get back. And within the 15 minutes I was there, she's like, that flower thing you're doing, like these ones, right?
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
I go, oh, like that one? She's like, yeah, I don't like that one. Good to see you, Mom.
Well, I got a better story about people not liking things. So for my BFA thesis, my grandma came to my show. And she came in the gallery, booked it for the first chair she could find, and sat there for 3.5 hours. Didn't get up to look at a single piece I made, didn't ask a single question. When we packed up, she got up out of her chair and she left the gallery.
Wow. Love you.
I'm like, okay. Like,
In her defense, the older I get, the harder it is to stand for a long time.
Yeah, but like she
Yeah.
didn't even take the obligatory tour around the gallery
Yeah, do one spin. Yep.
or get up to get snacks or anything.
Grandma, I got really good cheese.
Right? I got the fanciest snacks.
Dude, I used to go to all the senior shows at Alfred all the time back in the day.
Yeah.
And we would go because they had great snacks.
Oh, that was our Friday nights down in Carbondale. It's like we would just starve ourselves all day, go make the tour like 2, 3 shows on a Friday, and then figure out which one we wanted to go back to and eat the rest of their snacks. Like,
You know how I used to do senior shows after a couple of years of going? Honestly, I would wait till the next day because it was so packed. You're like
sure.
cattle being herded around this building, you know? I would go get a large coffee and go at 7:30 the next morning when the shows were still up. Kids hadn't taken them down. I could walk around and look at everything at my own leisurely pace. I was the only one in the whole building. It's interesting. As much as I like people, I don't really like people.
right? Yeah. Well, it's a switch, right?
Uh-huh.
Like, I feel like it's a switch. My friend Rob always used to call it a hat, but it's a switch that you have to flip to be, like, personable and out in the world. And it's not, like, a bad thing. It's just that I think we're in our studios so much
Yep.
that when we have to go out into the real world, it's like, oh, I hope I can deal with it this time.
Yeah.
Like, I hope nobody says anything dumb and I'm, like, shut down and,
Please don't say anything stupid to me today.
right? Like, hopefully this is a good one.
Yeah. Ugh. Well, I run a golf course, so it's kind of like I have to like. Oh, it's I don't know. It's so the winters renew my faith in humanity, and the summers ruin my faith in humanity. Oh well, is what it is. I saw a guy on Instagram.
And
the
you're
other
like
day.
a professional is what I get the gist of.
Yeah, yeah. I've been teaching golf and playing golf since I was a little kid.
Yeah.
I actually just played right before I got on the show with you. Went down and played my buddy down at a simulator. It was a lot of fun.
Cool.
I saw a guy on Instagram. He's got this video of him jumping around, and people say, "Hey, we should hang out. You look like a lot of fun." He's like, "Yeah, you know why I look like I'm so much fun? Because I'm alone." That's why I'm having so much fun. That's too funny.
I mean, I think, the Periscope era and the Instagram Live era, I think really solidified some things for me because, like, I thought it was bad talking to people. And then now when I get lonely in the studio, it's like, that's the first thing I think of is like, oh, I should probably pop on Instagram and, do a live just so I have some contact with some people. Because, like, we all have our people. Like, I talk to Brett Kern and Mitchell Spain rather often and bounce ideas off of them, and they do the same. But it's like,
we may have lost you again, sir.
no, I'm still here.
There he is.
Where'd you lose me on vocals?
I thought you were frozen there. I looked up, thought you were frozen. You might have been just concentrating.
My hands may have been just moving and not anything else.
Yeah, I mean, I started doing Instagram Live. People always called me the live guy after a while.
Well,
But I did it because I want to talk to people. I mean, I'm alone in my studio. Sometimes I'll zone out and put on some techno or some Guar. I saw your Guar shirt.
Guar.
Hell yeah, baby. Remember Beavis and Butthead? Yeah, there you go. Sick. Remember Beavis and Butthead?
Fire.
Fire. Cornholio. It was so much funnier when I was 20.
I think it still is funny. I think you just gotta, like,
Yeah.
allow yourself some leeway. It's like, my friends always say I have really bad music taste and really bad taste in movies, and I'm like, or I just watch things that are entertaining.
Right.
Like, I allow myself, right? I have, and you can probably relate, I have a teenager, so, and I teach at a high school, so of course I'm immature. Like,
Yeah.
there's no way to get around that. And It's just...
My kids don't understand my immaturity. Like, I just went up to my stepson a minute ago. He's 13. He just got home, and I said, I am so happy I saw you today. I said, but you know what's even better? You got to see me. I'm like, you are a lucky young man.
Right?
I love the look on their face when they're like, what are you talking about?
You're like, I'm good.
Yeah. I do that to my buddies all the time when they leave the golf shop. I go, hey, glad you got to see me. And it makes them freeze in their tracks for a second. Like,
right, yeah.
Did he just say what I think he said? Yep. Oh my God. See that? I got all these questions. We haven't touched on any of them. Oh, so your daughter is 11. Your son is, how old did you say?
He's 15.
15. My daughter just turned 15 last week.
Oh, boy.
It's crazy. Oh, my God.
And in the state of New York, what is driving age?
So my stepdaughter is out driving right now. She just turned 16. So 17, you get your license. Well, no, 16, you get your permit. And then you can have that for like 6 months. And then you can get your license. So, but it's like a conditional license, I think. So 16.
Because we're 15 permit, 16 license in Illinois. That's
kind of young.
I mean, I'd like to say that, but also I was 16 when I got my license, and I feel like I can drive a car pretty well.
Yeah. Growing up on Long Island, I was trying to tell the kids, I'm like, you guys won't know the hell of getting on the Long Island Expressway for the first time as a new driver.
Yeah, but you won't know the hell of driving down gravel roads at 80 miles an hour trying to keep it from going off the road.
Yes.
Like us country kids do.
Country boy.
I'm not like super country, but like that's where I learned how to drive. Like V8, rear wheel drive.
Yes. Kick it sideways.
Yeah.
Pull the e-brake.
And now when I do that crap in the front wheel drive and I get the back end of the minivan to, go fishtailing, my kid's like, whoa! I'm like, this ain't anything, man.
You ain't seen nothing. I used to have a Volkswagen Rabbit, and we used to call it the sick reverse, where we had huge parking lots.
Yeah.
So you put it in reverse and go, whoa! Put it in neutral, pull the e-brake, cut the wheel, and go... slam it back into drive and go the other way, like the cop move, right?
Yeah.
Cop spin. What are you making there?
I'm making a little small box, a little miniature box for small favors.
Oh, right on. So let's talk a little about your work. I mean, that's kind of why we're here, I think.
Is it?
But so when did you start doing? When did you start ceramics? Were you a high school? Was that a college thing?
Do you want the long story? Or you want the short story? You want the chunk from Goonies long story? When I was 7.
Do you know who that was? Do you know who the monster was?
Who?
In the movie?
No.
Lyle Alizado, the NFL football player.
Oh yeah.
Isn't that a cool fun fact for you?
Fun fact: they just announced the sequel.
Really?
Is in production. Okay, so I'll give the in between. I took a high school class of ceramics. I hated every second of it. I decided I was not going to do it. So when I went to junior college, I did not like the ceramics professor there, so I took 0 classes. And I stayed at junior college way too long because I'm the first in my family to go to college. And then when I went to the University, Southern Illinois, Carbondale, I was forced to take ceramics because I wanted my BFA in BFA in sculpture originally, and my teaching license. So either way, I had to take ceramics. And a guy named Will McDonald and Keith Renner are probably most notable for getting me into ceramics and making me realize that I could do things. So then I switched my major in undergrad, like a year and a half in, I think.
That's pretty cool.
To ceramics. And then I thought I was going to be done. and I took a year off, got married, and then I ended up going to grad school in at ISU, Illinois State University in Normal.
Wow, you got married young then.
No, I got married late. So I got married at 31, 30.
So you went back to school when you were older.
Yeah, I went to back school at, like, I fall into the non-traditional realm.
Yeah,
So to bring this up,
I hear you.
I
I had
went,
my daughter when I was 39.
right, yeah. So I'm not, right, I wasn't that late, but like, I felt later because of my parents' age when they had me. But when I was in Carbondale, I was friends with all the grad students. Grad students like Matt Sheeman.
Oh, I love
Who,
Matt.
yeah, that you
And
always
so,
say
wow,
Shyman.
this is Matt's fault.
Yeah. But you always call him Matt Shyman.
Is it Sheeman?
It's Sheeman. And I about lost my mind because you bring him up a lot. And
There you go.
so,
Now we're good. We're good to go.
so I texted him. I'm like, is it Shyman or Sheeman? And he just put, haha, Sheeman. I'm like,
Dude, text me
okay.
next time. Hey, Mike, it's Sheeman.
Well, we had already decided to do this podcast.
Oh, perfect.
Right? So I was like, okay, I'll just wait.
I'll just correct you in front of everybody else.
Well, trust me, it's not a bad thing. It's just
That's
like,
good. Thank
I'm
you
just
for
like,
that, by the way. And sorry, Matt, if you're listening.
but like they were the grad students, but I was closer to them in age. And then when I went to my graduate program, luckily the people that were in the ceramics program when I was there, they were also older, but it was weird because we were about the same age as Tyler. Mm-hmm. So like here we are, in age wise, we're being taught by people that are same age, and then like the undergrad kids felt very young, like they were like, this is weird that like we're the graduate students, and like because we had taken that non-traditional approach to going to school.
So you you said you wanted to get a sculpture degree originally. What did you want to make sculpture out of? Were you always playing with clay, or were you a wood and metal guy?
No, it's more of like a assemblage found object kid.
Uh-huh.
And then when I went to junior college, I thought I was going to be a painter, like everybody, I think.
Yep.
And then I kind of just did painting there for a while, and then I was still making sculptures, but not so much because the program really didn't, lean that way. But
I was telling a story here the other day. A kid I went to Alfred with, his name was Matt also. His graduating card said specializing in metal fabrication, glass sculpting, and random acts of destruction. Because this is what he used to do. He would dig. This was in early 2000 or 90. I can't remember. It was late. It was a long time ago. It was well before 9/11. So we would go to the gun store here in Western New York, and buy a couple of pounds of black powder. And he would dig a hole in the ground, and he would like sculpt the hole, right? And then put a little sheet of steel. It was like 1/8 steel. Like,
okay.
He would cover the hole with it, and then he would put a huge pile of black powder in the middle of the sheet of metal on top of this hole, cover it with rocks and dirt, and then run a big fuse out into the woods, and then light it, and it would go boom, and it would push the metal down into the hole. The way he shaped the hole, and then he would pull it out and make a stand for it, and that was his sculpture. Until
you say that it shaped the metal, I was kind of wondering if you guys grew up in the Midwest.
No, that's what's that stuff that everybody shoots that goes? It explodes like crazy. What the heck is that stuff?
I don't know.
Darn it! I've seen kids do it. And they shoot a keg and it goes flying up in the air.
Oh, like buckshot? Are you talking about?
I'm trying to remember what it is. This I don't know. It'll pop into my head. People you shoot it from far away and it blows up like crazy. So wait, I have a question. I was digging through your Instagram there, and you have a video, but I can't tell if the video is from like low on the ground or you're a super tall guy. How tall are you?
I'm 6'5 3/4".
Ah, you are a tall dude. I
I've
am
I've
like
been described as a guy who can fill a doorway.
so. There's an interesting story right there. Right, a guy was in the golf shop last year, and I'm chatting with him, and I'm like, dude, you got to be all a 6'11", and he says, I'm actually 7 foot. So he's standing like this, right? And he's like, the doorway is right here. And
Yeah.
he goes, yeah, take it easy. And he goes like this. Under the door. Dude, I clear that thing by a good 1.5 feet, you know?
Well, and with tall people, because I know this happens, like people will try to warn you about low clearances, but not even half time. It's like 90% of the time, tall people are already ducking. Like they just have like a natural instinct because they know their environments.
Well, I've never had that problem. My brother's 6'2". Yeesh. I got
Yeah.
the shaft, and I got the low end of the gene pool.
How tall are you?
5'8".
Well,
Yeah.
you're not horrible. It's not like you're 5 foot or something.
So, true story, my real dad, who I never really met, he was a jockey.
Oh,
Yeah. He rode what the heck
so
you
you're
call
a
them?
giant then, by
Yeah,
chance.
in my lineage. What are those? The carriage horses, I think. You know, you sit in the thing in the back and they pull you.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he raced those at Belmont Raceway in Long Island. Yep.
That's cool.
Yep. So I tell my daughter, I'm like, you're probably not going to get much taller, honey. Sorry. My stepson, who's 13, is the same height as me right now.
I'm going to tell you that's not always true. I am 6'5 3/4", and I say that because my son got mad at me because I said I was 6'6", and he measured me. He goes, "You're 6'5
See,
3/4".
fine. Told you, Dad. Yep.
But my brother is probably 5'11". My
Really?
mom is 5'8" or 5'9", and my dad is probably 5'6".
Wow.
So I am the tallest of the bunch. So don't discount genetics; they sneak up sometimes.
What did you got any good shows you're watching these days? Me and my wife are geeking out to that Paradise. Have you
I
seen that
don't know
yet?
about Paradise. No,
I think it's on Hulu.
my wife just made me watch the first episode of School Spirits. It's got the girl from Cobra Kai in it.
Oh yeah.
So we started that, and I made her watch Reacher.
Yes, Reacher. The
I
new
watch
season
a
just came out.
Yeah, that's why I made her watch it. I'm like, if you're gonna watch it, you gotta catch up. I'm
Now,
like,
answer me this: is that police lady really pushing that Boston accent?
I don't know, because Rick Grimes from freaking Walking Dead is from Australia or some crap.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I'm like, no, I'm like, every time, like I see him in an interview and he's got his normal voice on, and I'm like, no, 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 talk like Rick Grimes, please.
That's like who's the guy who played Batman? He's British.
Oh, Christian Bale.
Christian Bale. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I saw her as soon as she came out with it because I grew up in Long Island, so it's kind of close to the same accent, and I'm like, she is really working that. Like, she's trying too hard.
I was talking to Judy Tavel on the phone one time, and she's from New Jersey,
Yeah.
and like she has this like iconic New Jersey accent. And I didn't say anything to her because I thought, I'm a kid from the Midwest, and I'm just like, okay.
Yeah. It's
And like,
real.
I had started part of my conversation with her, and she goes, "Where are you from?" And I'm like, "Illinois." She goes, "That explains the accent." I'm like, "My
Yeah,
accent?"
me?
I'm like, "I'm over here laughing at you."
I used to hang wallpaper when I was in my 20s all through Manhattan. And we had a big job we were doing. We were doing like 60 floors of a building, right? Every hallway. So we brought a couple of guys up from this crew from Alabama, right?
Alabama.
Alabama. So this guy, we go to get a lunch at a deli in New York City, and the guy's like, it's lunchtime, so they're in a hurry, right? He goes, next, what can I get you? And he goes, I'm gonna get a roast beef. And the guy from the counter, he goes, good Lord, man, where are you from? And the guy was offended. He says, Alabama. I guess that makes me stupid, doesn't it? And the guy was like, no, man, I'm saying I love it, but
right,
that's hardcore. Alabama. So let's see what else I got. So how about, what do you think do you sell the most? Is mugs your biggest seller, like most people, or?
Yeah, I think mugs are the thing that support the gallery or the studio practice the most. It was really funny, and the reason I'm making this box, because I had switched to making mugs because a friend of mine, randomly calls me, and you know how everybody's names pops up on your phone, and usually people are polite and they say hello, and my friend calls me and goes, I go, hey, what's going on? He goes, you got big hands, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Where are we going with this?
This is interesting. And he just kind of said, I want 2 cardboard mugs. And I'm like, I don't make mugs. He goes, you do now.
Really?
Said, how do you figure that? He goes, because I'm going to pay you. I'm like, okay, you got me there. And then I started making them, but I come from that sculpture background. And so I always kind of thought of them as mini sculptures, and just trying to work at them like that, and thinking about them, and of course putting the knowledge into play of knowing how to make pottery, because Carbondale was a functional heavy school.
That's pretty wild that's where your mugs came from.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, I can, and then I made a whole bunch of those, and it's super funny. The reason why I got into galleries was because of Matt Sheeman.
Sheeman.
Is
he the same guy as Matt Shyman?
He is. He's the same guy.
Yep.
I knew him because he was a graduate student when I was an undergrad, and I asked him to trade with me. And he was like, sure. Because I was just kind of on this quest of getting people's work that I knew from school. And he got it, and then he texted me at one point. He goes, hey, I hope you're not mad at me, but I gave Eric Botbill your number. I'm like, who's Eric Botbill? He goes, he owns Companion Gallery.
Oh, yeah, yep.
Okay. And so that's kind of how I got involved in that. I had this thing that I started making, and it just kind of hit right away. And it was nice. And so I had this commodity which allowed me to trade for every... I think I've only bought 9 cups on my cup shelf, because they just keep asking people to trade. And, I've had a couple rejections, but I've also got a lot of sweet mugs from people that are much better than me. I have a Sunshine Cobb mug, and I have a Paul Eshelman mug that I really adore and love. And it just kind of worked out for me that I had this commodity somehow, almost instantaneously. So
let me grab my dog here. Hold on there. Come on, Poppy. She's scratching. She's getting old. She actually fell down the stairs a few months ago. Yeah, so she goes around now. She's pretty smart. But, Sunshine Cobb, actually, she's one of the reasons I hand build.
Well, I'm going to tell you, hand building is far superior to throwing.
I agree with you. You know what? I'm going to write that down. I'm going to make a T-shirt that says that.
Yeah, we're going to have to fight. It's going to be like the Jets versus, the Sharks and West Side Story. Yeah. all the way down the corridor at Encika. It's
Dude,
just
that
like
would be so funny. Hand builders
hand
on one
builders
side,
versus throwers,
steel throwers on the other. Yeah, miscreants.
right? No, she has a lot of good techniques and stuff, and I started out as a slipcaster. It was Yukari Factora and Harris Deller who really pushed into the hand building aspect. And I took a summer, like one of the summers in between my thesis and my undergrad, just like regular undergrad semesters. I went home and I figured out how to hand build these clay tiles. And Harris Deller still has one of the first ones hanging on his wall at his studio. And I was just like, I didn't know what I was doing at that point, but evidently he did. Like he had already seen the future somehow. And so like I switched from slipcasting to hand building, and now funny enough I'm switching back to kind of like a hybrid. Like I'm slipcasting some objects and I'm hand building other objects as it needs. And right, like you've talked with a lot of people, and like normally potters have like one clay body that they use, and I have one main clay body, but within my studio practice I have about 5, just depending on the objects that I need to make. So
That's interesting. Yeah.
like instead of someone who's like, well, I only use this, I'm like, well, what about when you need to make this kind of object? And people just kind of look at me funny, and I'm like, because it's usually the simplest, dumbest trick that gets the job done. When it comes to finding textures and things, like you talked a little bit about it with your rock texture. And like, how do you make rock texture? You go find a good rock.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
how do you make wood?
there.
Yeah. How do you make good wood texture? Go find a good piece of wood. Like it's not hard. You just have to think out of those conventional boundaries. Like, I feel like in this day and age, a lot of people would be like, how do I get a good rock texture? Oh man, I got to look up something, who makes silicone mats for rock textures?
Yeah.
That's like, you don't need that. You just need a rock. So,
You know where they made that silicone mat from?
Yeah.
Rock.
a rock. Like,
Yeah, that's too funny. I love the hand builders are far superior. That's like,
I'm going to catch so much crap for that.
I can't wait. I'm glad I can talk your crap catching.
Oh, I normally eat something like make fun of somebody, and somebody's like, "Hey, I heard you on this podcast, and I'm this person." I'm like, "Well, you gotta own it, I guess."
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna own the fact that I made fun of you. So,
I'm a big foot and mouth guy, so I'm okay with it.
okay.
All right. Yeah. I got a pretty good collection going now too, and I've been doing lots of swaps. I've actually been swapping with a lot of podcast folk. For you, we'll have to chat about that later.
Sure.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. I had a guy build me this really cool shelf, and it holds like 30 mugs. And I said, I'm going to need 3 of those. I don't know where I'm going to put them in my house, but I'm going to have them.
I love hearing the beginning stories, because we just repurposed a shelf when we first started collecting, my wife and I. And it was quickly apparent that we needed a larger shelf. And I guess I'm the dummy, because she came up with this whole system that is now our wall, like where it's tiered, like it gets smaller as it drops down.
Oh, okay. Kind of like a reverse pyramid type thing?
Yeah. And it works wonderfully. And it holds so many cups. So many.
I mean, that's a cool idea. I think I'm going to have to do something like that. You just reminded me of when I was in the Navy. We made an upside-down beer pyramid.
Hey, is
We
it
glued them to
true?
the ceiling and then glued them down.
Is it true that when you're in the Navy, you get your own butter knife on ships?
I don't know about that. I was landlocked for a couple of years. That's a very interesting. I never heard of that actually. So I don't.
I had a friend who swears his butter knife that he uses in his studio is his dad's Navy butter knife that he was issued.
Maybe a long, 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 long time ago. But my grandfather was a rear admiral, and he ain't never passed me down no butter knife.
Oh man, missing the best studio tool, evidently.
So Sunshine Cobb again.
Yeah.
So I originally found her because I was never a big fan of too much glazed surface. I really like action on the surface, and I don't like the shine too much. So I was always trying to find something matte. And then I remember seeing her. It was like one of her green glazes, which is a commercial glaze. That turns out she, sandblasted. And I was like, well, do I got to buy a sandblaster? Like, I don't want to do that. So in the process of trying to find her, I found her hand building. And it was one of those, I'm sure you've had them before, where you see somebody do something and you go, oh, shit, that's a great idea.
Right?
You know what I mean? I was like, oh, that's a nice way to do that. And then I was off to the races building. And then in the process of trying to find matte colors, Terra Sigillata came to me, and that's kind of where I'm at now. And now I'm messing around with a white glaze again. Here we go again, right?
Yeah, not a yellow glaze?
I have a yellow. Yep, I don't like it. I'm still trying to find a way to like it. But I don't know. It takes me longer because I have to. I can only do it 6 months a year. That's the problem.
Yeah, that's an interesting studio practice, and I'm glad that you have golf to fill the other 6 months.
It is nice to break it up.
When I've always been an art kid, like always. And I think it was 2 or 3 years into Carbondale, I had not taken a break, and I took a break all summer. Mm-hmm. And that was the last break I've ever taken from making work.
When was that?
Like, it'd be like 2002, 2003, somewhere in there.
Wow, yeah.
And it was such a miserable summer. Like,
yeah.
And it wasn't anything about, like, what was going on. And it took me a long time to realize, like, I haven't made anything. Mm-hmm. And that just killed my spirit altogether. Like,
yeah.
And I was like, I'm much happier making, even if it's crap. Like, I made a lot of crap. I still do make a lot of crap.
Yep, that's the theme of this show. It really is. Every potter who's been on here says you're going to go through a time where you're going to make shit. Well, and that's okay.
I don't even think it's like go through a time. You're just always going to make shit. Like, not everything is cool. Right? Like,
yes.
It sucks, but that's how we learn. Like, I did this sculptural series based off of Muhammad Ali's How Great I Am speech.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, this will be a really easy, like, 2-month project. And about 18 months into this sculptural series, one of my buddies came to get return or pick up some work for a show. And I was talking to him about it, and he goes, I think you need to take a break. And I was like, what are you talking about? He goes, you look like you're about ready to kill somebody. I'm like, no, nope. Like, this is where I power through. This is where I figure it out.
Yep.
And, right, it was just like mistake after mistake, or like, oh, this'll work, and it didn't quite work how we wanted it to. And you've talked about it too, but like, those mistakes are just learning points. Mm-hmm. And as long as you mentally log them, like, that's the most enriching thing ever. And you've kind of alluded to it, but there's my favorite quote by Aristotle is the master has failed more times than the beginner has tried. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I don't think people see that. They see us out at shows. They see us, doing X, Y, and Z. And they're like, oh, you just make everything and it works. It's like,
no. Yeah.
Come to my studio sometime. See the wall of crap. that's just sitting there waiting to get destroyed.
I forget who I was telling the other day. There's a shelf unit sitting right here, and as you know, in the studio, shelves are priceless.
Mm-hmm.
So I was looking at all these seconds on that shelf, and my wife had gone away for a couple of days, and she came home and the shelf was empty. I threw it all away, and she was mad
Right.
at me. I'm like, honey, two things. One, I don't want that stuff out in the world because it's crap. I said, two, I need the space, you know. But she's like, oh, your mother would have taken them, you know.
Yeah, but that's the problem, right? Like, I don't know how you feel about seconds. Like, I'm adamantly against selling seconds.
Yes, I wanted to
If
talk to you about that. So go
if
ahead.
I'm gonna label something a second, that means it's not up to par.
Yeah, yeah. And
And
why would
if
you give it
it's
to somebody else, right?
yeah, like so why am I gonna sell it to somebody, even at a discounted rate, like and have my name on that thing?
Yeah, because then
Like,
someone's going to go, oh, Griffin made this. Well, hopefully, are they going to tell him, oh, that's one of his seconds?
no, they're not gonna tell
Probably
me
not.
that.
Yeah.
Like, right? And it's like, and like everybody's terminology of seconds is different. Like, I have a Vantiki Ghost Diver mug, and he's like, well, it's a second. There's a pinhole in the glaze by his armpit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's not a second, dude. That is a first, sell it. Like, it's the smallest pinhole. Like, but like when I'm talking seconds, there are cracks, there are,
Yeah.
major glaze malfunctions.
Sure.
Or here's the other thing for me is like it doesn't look like the object I want it to look like. Like the finish didn't work or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to come to the reality that it's just like, okay, I have to get rid of those things. And that started in undergrad because like the kiln room was on the second floor and there was this dumpster down on the ground floor. And you could take 2 steps from the kiln room to the top of the staircase and just pitch
Right out the
everything
window.
into the dumpster.
Yeah.
And I had to pull this piece out because the glaze didn't do what I wanted it to. I had to I had to take it out with gloves because it was too hot to handle. And I immediately just threw it and the dumpster was empty. And everybody in the ceramic studio came out and like, what just happened? I'm like,
Yeah.
I threw a piece out. And they're like, you just took it out of the kiln. I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah. And it sucked.
Yeah.
And
It's
they're just-
crap, as they say. What was
yeah,
that?
they're like, you should sit with it for a while. And I'm going to tell you, after years of just sitting with them for a while, they're still crap.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, my initial assessment is still accurate. They're still crap. They can sit there for however long you want them to, but they're still crap.
Do you remember that Saturday Night Live skit? If it's not Scottish, it's crap.
Yeah.
It's crap. Well,
So
that's
is-
what I was going to say. I was going to say, that's scary because every time I open the kiln, I go, I don't like any of it. It takes me a day to go, that's not so bad.
But it is, right? Like,
It is. Yeah.
like that initial assessment is accurate. And you don't need to go any further. And you don't need to worry about it because people get angry with me because I go through phases where I'll break stuff on Instagram. And they're like, I would have bought that. I'm like, no, you wouldn't have. You want to know
would've
why?
sold it to you.
Because it's not for sale.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like, it's not available for you to buy. So you couldn't have bought it. And so, like, there's this, like, big, I don't know, not disconnect, but, like, I don't think people realize that when you buy something from me, that has my seal of approval on it. 100%. And when people are like, oh, man, I got a cup, but it's leaking. I'm like, send me a picture of the cup. I'll make it as good as I can, like back to the design that you have,
Yeah.
and I'll send you a new one. They're like, that's not why I emailed you. I'm like, no, like
Yeah.
I'm not living with that.
No.
And I'll eat the money. That's fine. Like that's not the point. Like I got into this because you've talked about it, and I'm a craftsman, right? That's where we start. We have a craft to make things, and then when they don't live up to my craftsmanship expectations, I'm just like, that is not going to exist. Like, that can't exist in my world. So,
I'm getting to the point where my normal job, I'm getting resentful that I have to go to work. You know what I mean? Like I just want to make pots, and I think it's a lot harder than I think people think, or than Instagram makes it look for people to make an actual living off of pots. I don't know many people that. I mean, even not talking to, just even scrolling Instagram, people that are actually making a full-time living off of pots, it's probably very rare, I would think.
I think it is too. I think it takes a special type of person. Like I look at, my friends that are full-time potters, and I think, "Oh man, I could probably do that." And then I remember like I don't want to do that. Like, number one, I super enjoy teaching. That's why I do workshops. And
Yeah,
then,
me too.
you know, and I think there is some of that social aspect, right? Like I'm around students all day, like talking to them, trying to get them to be better, trying to have them create things because I'm super proud when, a student from 2 years ago comes back and like, "Hey, I made this for you." And I'm like, "For me? Why?" They're like, "Well, I wouldn't be where I'm at today, and it's like, "Oh, dude, man." And they're
That's
like,
cool.
"Oh, I
Yeah.
hope you keep it." And then, I'm for public education, I'm just a couple years in, but I've already had the experience where like they'll see something in the background and they'll be like, "You kept that?" I'm like, "Yeah, you gave it to me. Like, that's one of my most cherished items." They're like, "It is not good." I'm like, "Then make me a new one?" Like, I don't know what to tell you.
Why'd you give it to me then?
Right? I'm like, but like, that's really impactful to me that you made that based off of knowledge that they think they gleaned from me somehow. And I'm just like, okay, cool. But
I had a buddy that graduated from Alfred, and he everything he made he would give away. And I remember saying, "Pete, why do you do that? You make some pretty cool pots." And he said, "Because if I sell them, it becomes work, and I don't want it to be work. Because I like doing it."
well, and I mean, yeah, it is work. But when I have a crap day, like whether it be at school or it's, over the summer, the first thing, even my wife has picked up on it. She's like, "You need to go to the studio."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Okay." And within minutes, I'm better.
Yeah.
Like, just have, there's something about that, like, the repetition and the craft of it all, you know, I wouldn't say the feeling of clay. Sometimes that's a little gross, but
Well,
definitely just like knowing what I'm working on and trying to get to.
I find a freedom in it that I've never found anywhere else. I mean, there are moments when I play golf where I'm just lost in what I'm doing, but there's nothing to me that I've found yet in my 54 years where I can come down here at 8 o'clock in the morning and start working on stuff, and before I know it, it's 6 p.m. and it felt like a half an hour.
So I've heard you talk about that, and I have covered up the window in my studio,
Uh huh.
and people lose their mind. They're like, "You don't you have a window, but it's covered up." I'm like, if it's a nice day out and I have to do work, like if I have to go to the studio, all I'm doing is staring at that daylight.
Yeah.
But as soon as that window's covered up, you're exactly right. Like you come down here, it's like, "Oh, it's been like 5, 10 minutes, whatever," and you find out it's lunchtime, and you're like,
Yeah.
4 hours have passed. Like, there's no way,
And that reminds me that I must love it.
right? How else does time pass like that?
Exactly. If I'm reading a book, I fall asleep. Right? I mean, how many episodes of a show do I got to watch to sit for 7 hours?
Right? But yeah, it's like, how else does time pass that quickly
You know what I
if we don't
noticed?
love it?
You know what else I noticed, Tim, is that when I come down to here, even if I'm sitting upstairs and I'm like, I don't want to freaking do anything, I just have to come down here. Because as soon as I walk in the room, I see 8 things that I got to do, or I've started and I have to finish. Like a lot of times, the first thing I'll do is put out reclaim and roll a slab of clay, because then I can't leave until I use it.
Right.
I'm not leaving that slab there to get hard because that makes me mad. What a waste of a clay that was.
Steve Grimmer, who is the first official professor, not just a instructor of record in the graduate program for ceramics for me,
Uh-huh.
he told me that I should wake up, immediately come to the studio, work until class time. After class was over, I should come do my homework in the studio. Then when I take lunch, I should eat lunch in the studio. And I was like, you are crazy. Like, why would I spend that much time in my studio? Until you start spending that much time in your studio and you're like half eating a sandwich and working with the other hand, and you're like, oh, I'm going to go to class, I'm going to come back and I'm going to finish this thing off. And I think that's the nice thing. And I think you're one of the first people I can talk to. Like, I have a home studio.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, it takes me 5 seconds to get into the studio.
Yeah.
And it takes, right, even when we're unmotivated.
8 hours to get out.
Yeah. Unmotivated. You come down like, I have to do this one thing before it dries out, or, I got to demold this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, and then it's like, by the time, it's bedtime, quote unquote, it's like, well, now I need like 5 or 6 more hours. Like, I got stuff rolling now. Like, everything's on the hot, on the press. I got to get it out.
Yeah. Pieces are cut.
Pieces are cut. Your mindset is like working overtime. And then I go upstairs sometimes to go to bed, and I'm like, I can't get to sleep.
No. Yep.
Like, because I'm like, okay, so tomorrow when I get done with school, like, and there have been days where I'm like, tomorrow I should wake up early, go down there, finish that one thing before school starts.
Mm-hmm. It's funny, I'm not a religious guy, but I've heard somebody say once before, if you want to make God laugh, plan your day.
Oh, yeah, right.
I'm going to do this, this, and this today. Are ya?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Flat tire.
Well, even just like setting up this podcast, like I had to reschedule like 3 times with you because I'm like, I forgot that I'm doing this thing this time, and just like,
it's funny. I told you I messed up the time with Kevin Kowalczyk too. I was like, are you going to get on? Because I forgot he was. I'm like, I thought he was 3 hours ahead. He's 3 hours behind.
Yeah.
I'm messing. I'm like calling him. I'm like, where is this guy? And then he called. He's like, I was in class. You dummy. Oh, my bad.
Well, and I think that's the interesting thing about being central time zone. I think, at least in my purview, like, I'm the one that adjusts for everybody else's time. Because I'm like, wait, did you mean your time or my time? Because that's a big difference. Like, and I have to be like, okay, Kevin's in California, so he's 2 hours behind me. Because I've like wanted to ask him questions. I'm like, he's in class right now. Like, I just got out, but he's in class still. So,
that's one thing I wanted to ask you. I think this software adjusts the time in the email. Did it do that for you?
yeah, it did.
That's very
But
cool.
I didn't look at that. Like, I just had that thread going with you on Instagram, so it's just like,
I'm really digging this software. It's literally made just for podcasting.
that's great. That's phenomenal.
It's super easy, but I think the show is fun. Hopefully it goes places. I was thinking about getting a booth at Ensika next year and just doing live interviews with people.
I think maybe you should talk to PD Blaze before you start committing to things like that.
We just scheduled the time. We scheduled
Did
the
you?
time. He's my buddy.
At Ensika?
No, so I'm like, dude, you want to be on the show? That would be so cool. And he's like, I would love to. Here's my scheduler. And I'm like, I scheduled for April 14th. I'm like, really? Good Lord, man.
Well,
He's a busy. He owns a couple of businesses too.
yeah. So, like, I had met him when I was being represented by Eutectic, and I had gone out there and I'd just done the podcast with him like the week before the opening.
Yep.
And he's taken some pictures of my work in the gallery space. And I jokingly come up behind him. I'm like, you can't take pictures in here. And he looks at me and he goes, who says so? And I'm like, me. And he goes, who are you?
No, no.
And I'm like, I'm the artist, Paul. You just talked to me last week. He goes, oh, man.
That is too funny. That's why this is a better platform.
But
Now I know what you look like.
he does video calls. Like, all that stuff is on a video.
I know. I was episode
Like,
841, I think, or something with him.
But, like, so going there and him not recognizing me was hilarious.
He's my cigar buddy. I don't know if you heard me talk about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Well,
met
have you ridden in the van ever?
No, that's scary.
So I was at this house show, and he was there, and Kevin Kowalczyk was there, and we were going across town to meet Carol Epp.
Yep.
And I said, oh, can I just hitch a ride with you and Kevin? He goes, well, I have the van. I'm like, okay, so you have a van. Like, okay.
So then you got room. Yeah.
He goes, well, it's the electrical van. So the back end is all the stuff for his electrical company.
It's all tools.
Right, so it's just the front bench seat.
Oh my
So
gosh.
it's Paul Blaze, and you know how tall Paul is.
He's very tall. Yep.
Kevin Kowalczyk, who's also very tall.
Uh-huh.
And then me, all crammed on the bench seat. Kevin's riding the hump, and then we're getting on one of the highways in Portland, and he's like starting to accelerate off the ramp. He goes, don't worry, it happens all the time. And Kevin and I kind of look at him, and the engine cuts out, and he just slow turns and looks at us, and he goes, it's fine. And turns back, and it just kicks back on. It's like, what did I get myself into?
Oh my God, that's hilarious. I really enjoy him. Him and I, like last year, I messaged him. I'm like, dude, let's get a cigar and go for a walk. He said, I'll meet you downstairs. And we Google cigar shop, right?
Sure.
I'm like, hey, it's a like an eighth of a mile down this way, right? And you do like the walking directions.
Yeah.
I don't know if I did like car instead of walk because like an hour and a half goes by, and we're walking through some neighborhoods that I don't think we should have been walking through. And I'm like, where are we going? And he's like, this is wrong. But we just laughed and laughed. He is a funny guy. I like him.
Oh, he's amazing. He's so much fun. I met him because of the podcast and things like that. But like hanging out with him or reconnecting with him at Ensika is always a phenomenal time.
Yeah.
So
Any word on how his eye is?
I didn't know he had an eye injury. He just sent me a message the other day. Didn't say anything about it.
Dude, he told me about it last year. Him and I talked about it while we were walking way too far. He goes, I said, what actually happened? So he was wakeboarding with his stepson or son or something like that. Yeah, right, there you go. I could just stop the story right there.
Right?
No, he was wakeboarding, I think it was, and he fell and went under, and the board hit, the point of the board, like, exploded his eye. Like, and it hit him, yeah, like, I don't know if he has use of that eye again. I'm going to find out, but it was pretty bad, apparently. So, man. He's my buddy. I look forward to having him on my show. That's pretty wild. Like, right. Life coming full circle, you know?
It's... I think it was right then when him and Adam Field were having a competition of who had more followers.
Uh-huh.
So they had, like, not an argument, but a discussion when we got to the bar to meet Carol because Adam was there. And he's like, oh, I gotta go talk to Adam real quick. I'm like, okay, cool.
So you have, like, a bunch.
A bunch of what?
Followers. Like, what do you got, 60? Something like that?
you're gonna call me out. It's 61.1 as of this morning.
That's pretty good. Like,
The
you know.
the only reason I know that, let me preface this,
Okay.
is because I'm trying to catch Brett Kern.
Oh, okay.
Him and I and Mitchell Spain are all in a group called the Mofos.
Mm-hmm.
And so far I've surpassed Mitchell. And as soon as I surpass Brett, I'm gonna have to text the group chat, be like, I am now the leader.
I am the king.
Like, you will all listen to me from now on.
Hello, little people.
Yeah. But like, my wife's always like, you don't have to be on your phone all the time. I'm like, I am working hard to catch Brett. Like, that is my only goal. As soon as I do that, I'm going to take like a week off of Instagram. Now, granted, for people that know Brett, he's, he'd be 19.8 ahead of me right now.
Oh, really?
And that seems like a lot, except for at one point, I was like 50K behind him. So,
Wow. So what's the secret? Are you messing with the algorithm, or?
shots in the dark, making process videos.
Yeah.
I can shoot a video of my work, like finished,
Yeah.
and I'll get like 2 to 3K.
Yeah.
I can corrugate a piece of clay, and it will get 10K before I go to bed.
Views.
Yeah,
Yeah.
instantaneously. I don't know how to retain those followers because it's like 18% following and then 80% or something, whatever the math is for that. Non-followers. So I don't know how to retain that, but each time I get something to kind of pop off, it gains me followers. And the last big one I had, well, the biggest one I've had was I put a piece, like, it's for my foot of my cup. It's just a flat disc, round disc.
Yeah. On the Unomis.
No, just on the bottom of any mug or cup.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And it was dry, and it was the end of the night, and I'm like, I got to post a video to make sure, frequency's there, right? Because that's what they say is like frequency is key.
Yep. Yeah.
Like, it
What is
doesn't
the
matter.
frequency?
Well, it doesn't matter as long as there's a frequency, right?
Yep.
If you want to post once a week, post once a week.
Okay.
If you want to post every other day, post every other day. And make sure it's at the same time. And, so I'm like,
Oh, really?
I
I
don't,
just post whenever I'm ready to post.
yeah, I have a range, like between 9 and midnight, usually, is when I post.
I'm asleep. 9:15.
Well, remember, I'm a school teacher with kids, and I only get a certain amount of work time.
Yes.
But I was corrugating this dry piece of clay, and, like, it comes up off the press mold, and it's wonky, and, like, as soon as the video is over, I threw it away. Well, that video is sitting at, like, 6.6 million views.
Really?
And I've gone back to check the hashtags. I've gone back to check the time of day, what day of the week it was. Nothing makes sense. Like, you can tell me all the algorithm crap you want, and I don't believe a lick of it because I'm like, I've posted a half hour before my viewership is supposed to be on. It doesn't work. I've posted, the text across the screen videos. I've posted the videos with me in the corner and some other videos going on in the back. None of that crap works. I post a picture of me corrugating clay. Boom.
Is that
It's over.
when you were like running the
Yeah.
store? Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, sure.
Okay. I'll do one of those a week.
Well, I told Brett and Mitchell, I'm like, one day I'm just going to cut up a whole bunch of different shapes and I'm going to make a video for every day of the month. And I'm just going to corrugate different shapes. Like, today's a star.
Yeah. Monday's a corrugating circle day.
Right? It has no point to it,
Yeah.
but people love it. So,
I was watching some girl the other day. She's got 300 and something thousand followers, and she just had a video of, it was all broken up videos of her throwing in pieces,
right.
And I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. I said, but I got to like turn my phone off and hit stop and clean my hands and make 18 videos while trying to throw. And then it takes 45 minutes that afternoon to put that all together. And I'm like, ugh.
It's too much work sometimes. Like, I think about it and, like, I was having a discussion with one of my friends, and she's like, "Well, you need to have nice lighting, and you need to have the right angle." I'm like, "I don't have time for
I
that.
don't have time for that.
Like,
Yeah.
that means I have to clean my studio. I have to direction the light. I have to get the right angle." I said, "Isn't it called Instagram?" Like,
Not when
I'm
you're
like,
ready, Graham. Yeah.
I got a
Preparation,
video.
Graham.
Boom. And like, if you've looked through my feed, you've probably seen my banding wheel 95,000 times because it's always there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it's just got a nice light and it's got all my underglazes behind it. So it's got some nice, background noise.
Sponsored by Shimpo.
No.
Nidec.
Oh,
Which one
that is an Amico Brent banding wheel. One of their prototypes that I stole from them at Inseca.
Really? Check that
Yeah.
one out. I've always, went to this one.
Yeah. Here, let me get mine real
The
quick.
Nidec, I guess. So is Nidec the company or is Shimpo the company? I don't
It's
even know.
Nidec now. Shimpo got bought out.
Gotcha.
But they made these couple banding wheels for demonstration.
And you stole it?
Well, the year I demonstrated for them, they had one. And I'm like, that's going home with me.
I'm taking this. Oh yeah.
So it's just their wheel head with their bearing underneath.
Uh-huh.
And then this like big plastic platform. But like these feet fit perfectly on a 5-gallon bucket lid.
Oh.
So it like makes it really great for doing demos because then you can have this banding wheel and you don't have, and it's like a half of the weight, if not a quarter of the weight of a Shimpo one.
Really? Because these things are 20 pounds.
They're so heavy.
Yeah. And then, well, I mean, also for you, a big tall guy, right? You can put that thing in a 5-gallon bucket, and then when you stand up to do a demo, it's here.
Yeah, because
Rather than
everywhere is too low.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Everything is too low for me.
And then I have people come over to my studio and they're like, everything is so high. I'm like, nope, it's the perfect height.
Tim,
Everything.
you're like wedging like this.
Yeah.
No.
Well, I had a studio assistant and she was probably 5'2", I think is what she said.
Oh gosh, yeah.
So she had a platform to work at one of the stations. And like, that was her platform for her,
That's hilarious.
but it's like, and then when she's gone or when she was gone, like I'd have to move the platform because I needed to work at that, station. So
Yeah, yeah. Or you're talking about kind of preparing and doing all that stuff and how much work it becomes. I posted a bunch of mugs the last time I did a sale, and it's like, you know what? I don't want to measure each mug, and you know what I'm saying, and do this was earthenware and this was like I did mug 1, mug 2, mug 3. I just put numbers on them.
Well, and I think it works for people that are established, right? Like, I think you're getting to the point like where people know about what your cup looks like. Mm-hmm. Like they've seen it enough out in the world where like, oh, okay, that's that.
Yeah.
And the same thing, like I had a cup, I don't know, I was just selling it on Instagram stories or something. And I'm like, I'm selling this. And somebody's like, well, how big is it? And somebody else answered and goes, oh, that looks like it's the 10 to 12 ounce mug. It's about 4.5 inches tall. And I'm like, yes, you are correct.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
like,
It's coffee mug size.
yeah, it's my default size.
Yeah.
And
That's what I'm
So-
trying to get to is where people will see one of my mugs and just go, oh, you got one of Mike Griffin's mugs. Do you know what I mean? Eventually I'll
Right.
be there. I think I'm getting closer each year. But it sure is fun to make them.
yeah, right?
I just made a bunch of my butts. I'm teaching a workshop in Wilmington first week of April. So the last week of freedom I have before golf. I'm teaching a workshop down there, and one lady said, are you going to bring some of your butts? I said, sure. So I got to make a bunch of them.
Well, okay, how do you feel about that? Like you have a couple, for lack of a better term, products. Right?
These things
Do you no, like you have plates and you have cups.
Yeah.
And do you feel obligated when people message you to like make that certain product?
That's a great question. I think as of now, I kind of feel obligated to do stuff for people. I'd like to get to the point where I go, I'm not making that. Well, actually, one guy, somebody messaged me and sent me a picture of some form and said, "Can you make this for me?" And I said, "No, I'm not making that."
But was it your form, or was he asking you to do something out of your normal
No,
purview?
he was asking me to make something completely different.
Yeah, see that stuff I absolutely say no to.
Yeah, no.
But like when somebody's like, "Oh, I really want a plate," and I'm
Yeah,
like, "I haven't made plates in a while. Do I really want to make plates?"
yeah.
Like I have this whole inner monologue where I'm trying to decide, do I listen to him? Because I had this conversation once, and the person asked me like what my number was, and I was like, "My number?"
Yeah.
And they're like, "How many mugs do you have to make a month to make your money?" And my immediate and gut response was, "I thought we were making art."
Yeah.
And they were like, "Oh, well, we are." I'm like, "It doesn't sound like you're making art to me. It sounds like you're trying to make money."
Yeah.
And I don't think it's the same thing. And I think that's why I asked that question is like, I don't like when people are like, "Oh, I want a plate." I'm like, "You're just going to have to wait until I make plates again." Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to make plates.
Sometimes it gives me the motivation to make that form, and then I'm like,
Oh,
all
for
right,
sure.
maybe I got to make some, and then but you'll make them and they'll come out like crap, and then you just say, I haven't made plates yet. So here's the thing, and you've probably heard me say this on the show a couple times: is I want to make just kind of like what I want to make, and if people want to buy it, that's great. If galleries want to carry it, that's great. I'm lucky to be able to do this for fun right now.
Sure.
I think some of my stuff is good enough that people want it, which is makes me really happy. That people would actually want to buy when I make. You know, I'm still coming to terms with that. I think. Yeah, and again, I just love doing it. So, yeah, whatever comes out of it comes out of it. Really, I guess.
Well, right. And like, I have some people that like when they make suggestions, I listen to them because like I recently was told that I need to make more pictures.
Okay.
And I'm like, do I though?
Yeah.
Like,
What if I
I
don't
don't know
want
if
it?
I do.
Yeah.
And they were like, you do. And I'm like, I don't know if that's gonna work for me. Like, but like, but then there's just some people are like, they come up with these absurd ideas. Like, you know what would be cool is if you made a lamp. I'm like, no. Have you ever seen me make a lamp before?
Yeah.
They're like, no. But wouldn't it be cool? I'm like, no.
I'm
There's a
trying to
reason
help
I
you, man.
like. And at one point, and you can talk to Kevin and you can talk to a couple other people, is like, people are like, oh, you should make butter dishes.
They're the
And
worst.
I'm like, no.
Yeah.
You want to know why? Because my butter comes in a dish from the store. They're like, but it's not ceramic. I'm like, I don't give a rip about my butter dish. Like, I don't use butter that much that I need a butter dish,
And they're the
right?
worst to make. Honestly, I mean, I wouldn't say the worst. They're kind of fun, but they're kind of like teapotish. They're kind of like they have to work, and you know you want to make a butter dish that's not this big on your kitchen counter either.
Sure. And you've looked at my work enough. Like, do you think I'm that fancy of a dude that I need like, I'm going to have a butter dish in my repertoire?
You're lucky I
Like,
use a butter knife.
yeah,
Keep it off at my finger. Did you
like,
see the lamp I made? Speaking of
no, no, I didn't know you made a lamp, so sorry.
no, so I wanted to do like a desk lamp a couple years ago, something like this. So this is like, it's like that, you know, just got a lamp,
Okay.
just
Sure.
a hand built. This was the first prototype, and it was supposed to go. I got a buddy who's a metal smith, so he made this, and it's supposed to be something like that.
I gotcha.
It sits on the desk, but as you can see, it's been sitting there covered in dust for a couple years. Like, not my priority, you know.
Well, and I think too, like, I, I think we have lots of ideas as makers, and they always talk about, well, don't get too many irons in the fire. And I'm always like, does it matter how many are in the fire?
Yeah.
Like,
What does that
because
mean?
I'm just gonna pick and choose which one to pull out and work on.
Yeah,
Like, it
yeah.
doesn't matter if it was the most recent one or whatever it was. Like,
I
I'm
don't.
not I'm
I
not
don't think.
worried about that.
I don't think I have a choice how many irons I have in the fire.
Are you one of those guys like me who I got asked last year at a gallery talk, they were like, how do you deal with creative artist block? I'm like, I don't know what that is. And they started to explain it to me, like the definition of artist block.
La
I'm
la
like,
la la la.
no, 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 no. I know what it is.
Yeah.
But like for you to tell me that, I have no idea that like I said earlier, like I took 3 months off. After that 3 months, I've always made stuff. Right? And that could be the Harris Deller, and I think you guys kind of echoed it in the first couple episodes. It's like make, make, make.
Yeah.
Harris told me if you like something, make 50 more of it. If you hate something, make 100 more of it.
Yeah.
Because inevitably, you're going to work it until it's good enough. Right? And you're going to learn all these little things you didn't like about it to make it better. So I just kind of felt like, oh, there's all these steps and all these things happening. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if I would know what that is either as far as a creative block in clay. I've never experienced it. I mean, if I was a writer and I couldn't come up with a story, maybe, but all you got to do is open a bag of clay and cut a chunk out and hold on to it for a second, and you're going to make something out of it, I think. For me.
Right. And I think because I make mugs so often, right?
Yeah.
If I ever had a point in which my mind was just like, I have nothing new to say, I'd be like, let's make some mugs. And by the time I get done doing like the 10 to 15 mugs in a week or whatever it is that I do,
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh, now I need to do this. Or I need to change up the imagery on the outside. Or what happens when I do this to it? So it ends up evolving anyways, just in a natural process. But to have zero ideas, like,
Yeah.
I don't know what that is. It's like,
You know, I find every once in a while, if I'm like kind of feeling a little stagnant, maybe. Again, I work 6 months a year, so how often am I going to get stagnant? First of all, right?
well, because I can only imagine, right? Do you carry like a notebook with you out on the golf course and like, oh, I need to do something that resembles movement like this.
Yeah. No. 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 I mean, I will take notes on the golf course of the
Right?
the
Yeah,
golf,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because you're a professional.
And that's a yardage thing. It's not. But every once in a while, I'll scroll through Instagram, and I'll go, "Oh, that's a cool form." And then I will make my version of that form. Like it'll spark something in me to where I go, oh wow, I can go crazy with that. I can, or even just as a starting point, I can go nuts.
Right?
with it,
Yeah.
You know. So sometimes I think that I get a little kick in the pants from seeing somebody else's form. I don't think it's derivative, but
Well, I think you. I
know
think
if I
you
can
brought
say-
it up. I think you brought it up in the first podcast with what was your friend's name?
Oh, Marshall. Yep.
Marshall, where you guys were talking about starting with an idea and not being scared to replicate someone else's work. And I talk about that because in art education, they tell you not to have your students replicate historical works. And I think it's a bad thing to say that because just like you guys kind of said, you learn the muscle movements, you learn the aesthetics of those styles,
Yeah.
and then you're able to apply it, tweak it, and move past those
Yeah, and turn
particular.
it into yours.
Yeah, right. And
Put
so
your
I
own
think,
spin on it.
yeah, and as we talk about pottery with banding wheels in front of us,
And spinning.
yeah,
But like, I mean, would you tell an athlete not to swing a bat like Babe Ruth did?
right. Like,
Like,
because I can only assume, right?
yeah,
I don't know a whole lot about sports because I've never been a sports kid. But when my son like, oh, so like I was watching this guy on this video and he shoots like this. I'm like, okay, have you tried it like that?
yeah.
He goes, no, I want to try it when we go next. It's like, okay, well, let's try that out and see how it works.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, I learned. Did you see the episode with Wes Brown?
yeah,
So we chatted about the same thing. We watched Simon Leach I watched Simon Leach friggin' religiously, like nonstop. I'd like watch him and I'd be like, oh yeah, like that. And I'd go out and I'd try to throw. And little did I know it was the clay I was using was ridiculously hard to throw with.
Your reclaimed slip.
Yes, there was freaking what's his name there? Wayne Higby's slip. Oh my god. And here I am trying to throw stuff. I remember, I don't know if you heard me say this, my buddy Pete used to come over and we used to do a thing called Teapot-a-Palooza. And we would just make like 25 teapots in a row. And we would high five, tag each other out. Your turn, slap. And then he would throw a body and I would throw a spout, and we just piece them all together. And I remember the moment where he took like a 6-pound piece of clay and was like, boop, and made a big piece. And I remember going, oh, so all you gotta do is just use a bigger piece of clay. And he was like, I can't believe you just said that. Like, duh, but it's like those are the moments where you go, duh, holy shit. But yeah, I learned from watching. I learned from asking. I learned from talking to guys like you, Yeah.
Well, I mean, even my clay, like when I started this journey to try to make trompe l'oeil cardboard, Yukari Fructora found Jim Sheetinger, who's ironically only like an hour and a half from me in Decatur. But she found him, found his phone number, found out he worked with Rauschenberg on the Tampa clay pieces, which were cardboard resembling, trompe l'oeil, but they used stickers and tape. And one day she's like, come into my office. And I'm like, okay. And I come in there and she's holding the phone. And I'm like, what? She goes, it's for you. And I'm like, okay. And hello? And on the other end is Jim Sheetinger going, hello?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I know exactly what this conversation needs to happen. I'm like, hi, I'm working on this. And he's like, oh, I can't talk to you now, but like after class, can I call you? I was like, sure. Yeah. And as an undergrad kid just starting to learn how to make things, he spent 45 minutes plus telling me exactly what him and Rauschenberg did.
Wow.
What the clay recipe was, how they were doing the labels and making all the marks. And
good for him. Yeah.
I was like, okay. And then I come to find out the clay body, the two elements weren't mined anymore. Like one was AP green, which I already knew was going out. Mm-hmm. And then the other one was Okamogi, which is Georgia red clay. Mm-hmm. Right. And then, so like he gave me a starting point though.
Yeah.
Like a jumping off point of like, okay, so it's possible.
Yeah.
So now I need to do my line blends and my tests and go through this. And
that's what I love about potters. And you've probably heard me say it a bunch on the show. My buddy Matt Hiller, I said, dude, I love your glaze. He goes, here it is.
Right. Yeah.
What clay are you using? Here. Yeah. Actually, he posted a picture yesterday and I said, man, that's a really nice white. And he wrote, that's the eggshell I sent you. You have that recipe.
Well, and so a couple of things I wanted to talk to you about. Have you read Val Cushing's article about electric kilns?
The one in his orange book?
It might be in that book. I don't know.
Not that I know of. No. Why?
Written in 1972 about the most economical firing is a Cone 5.6 electric kiln.
Really?
Yeah.
That's really good to know. Yeah.
I really find it funny. Like, I've always found it funny when people are like, oh, contemporary ceramics is switching to 5.6 because it's more economical and better on the environment. I'm like,
Val knew that. Yep.
Val knew that in 72.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm listening to your podcast and, you knew him directly, right? If I remember correctly.
Yep.
Yeah. And I'm just like, and you're always talking about economics of firing. And I'm like, yeah, you're talking to the guy that knew about the economics of firing in 72.
Yeah, that's funny. And I think people are trying to hold on to this Cone 10 gas firing.
I think sometimes it plays well, right? And I think it's the fact that the equipment is still there, mm-hmm. and it's cheaper to repair gas kilns than buy a new kiln.
Yeah.
So they kind of just get, it's like, is Scott the best electric kiln on the market?
I don't know. I mean,
I don't know either. Yeah. But everybody has one.
Yeah.
Right? Like every academic institution has one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? But does that make it better? Is Chevy better than Ford? I don't know.
Yeah, it all depends on how you use it.
Right. So it's like when you start talking about the differences, it's like, oh, okay, the only thing at the end of the day is what you have access to and how you use it, right? And I knew right from the beginning that I wasn't going to be able to afford a gas kiln.
Yeah.
Nor did I want to have to find somewhere to fire my work in a reduction gas kiln.
Yeah.
Because I saw the work that went into it. Now, I'm totally down with doing wood firings, right? That's fun game.
Yeah, it's fun.
But I don't want to do that as my bread and butter. Like, I want to be able to fire some stuff out, and I'm like you, it's like, let's see if this glaze works. Like, let's put it on a cup. Let's put it on 3 cups. Let's put it on 5 cups. And the only way I fire through that succession is because the electric firings are so quick and efficient.
I like to think that through the years that I've been doing this so far, I've whittled down, or I'm still whittling down, kind of like an alcoholic. You're never fully, you're never fully, cured. once an alcoholic, always never say I'm cured. Right. I like to think that I'm whittling it down to the most efficient way for me to get the results I want.
Sure.
Right? Well, I mean, why would you not do that? I mean, I understand wood firing's a blast, and I'd love to have a big old wood kiln out there that I fire once a year with 10 other people. You know what I mean? Right. Sure. But I don't know. I don't have the time or the energy to do that on every pot I have.
No, and, there's already enough variables in ceramics to just throw it to a wood kiln, because, like, the first wood kiln I did with Justin Rothshank, he's like, how many times you fired a wood kiln? I'm like, this one.
Wait, how long have you been here? Yeah.
And he's like, really? Yeah. I'm like, yeah. He goes, don't have high hopes. I said, I have zero hopes. I have no idea what this kiln does. And, every time I go to fire that, I think I fired 4 or 5 times with him. And every time I'm like, this is amazing. And he's like, it didn't turn out. I'm like, no, you don't understand. I'm used to this over here from my electric kiln. So when I come here, I'm like, that's something completely different. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's just access to equipment is important.
I've said before, too, that I think I switched to Terra Sigillata because I know what's coming out of the kiln. You know what I mean? Most of the time, I just say.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm pretty sure what's going to come out once I put it in.
Well, and that's the same thing here, right? It's like, I always tell them, I tell people that are like, oh man, I had a bad kill. And I'm like, yeah, right? Is it like your 100th time firing the same thing? They're like, yeah. I'm like, that's Clay just telling you who's boss.
Yeah. Don't get too comfy.
It's like, oh, you think you know how to handle me? Let's do this to you today.
Oh, yeah. Dude, so maybe that's it. Golf is the exact same way. I tell kids when I teach them, I said, just when you think you got it, you don't got it.
I guess, but it's just like, I always thought, like, I watched golf a lot, and I was like, oh, it's process oriented. I'm a process oriented person. And still, I'm a horrible, horrible golfer.
Most people are.
And I'm just like, why can't I get this right? Like, step by step, all in my head. Like, and I'm like, and my friend's like, you just have to golf more. I'm like, I don't have time for this.
Yeah.
I'm like, you come try to make a cup in a day. How about that?
Well, yeah.
Like,
yeah. I gave a guy a lesson last summer, and he hit one solid, and he got what I was trying to tell him. And I looked at him, I said, good, now do that like 15,000 times.
Yeah, right? It's like practice. Because I tell my students that at my school. They're like, how is it that you're so good? I'm like, well, one, I'm 47.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
experience.
I've done this a million times.
Yeah.
I'm like, when you've done it a million times, I said, did you step out onto the basketball court and immediately start sinking threes?
Yeah.
No. I said, what did you have to do? Practice. I'm like,
I told a guy last year, I said, let me ask you a question. I said, when you were a kid and you first learned how to drive, did you get behind the wheel, stomp on the gas, and go, ah? I'm like, no, you drove really slow. You learned how to parallel park. You used your blinkers. You worked your way up to being able to step on the gas.
Sure, yeah.
Don't
Yeah,
just
it's the
punch it.
same thing.
It's going to end badly.
There are too many similarities between sports and art that people don't want to acknowledge, and it's
I,
just about your drive and motivation.
I
So,
agree with that. Yeah, and I don't think you see a lot of it crossing over. There's not many like athletes that are artists or artists that are athletes. I don't think that I've seen really.
there's not a lot. There are some examples, like Terry Crews was a really good colored pencil artist when
Really,
he played for the NFL.
no kidding.
Because he wasn't the star athlete, he did a lot of portraits of stadiums
Very
and
cool.
portraits of players and sold them to make his living,
Yeah, I didn't
like
know that.
supplement his living. And there's a guy from Art 21. He's a video artist now. He used to be some kind of athlete. And my buddy Mike Willie, who's a professor at Illinois State, he turns baseball bats. He used to be
Oh wow.
a baseball scout,
Oh
and
cool.
he's a really good painter. And it's like
I know
you
Luke
hear,
Donald on the PGA Tour is a painter. He went to
yeah,
Northeastern or Northwestern for paint.
oh, okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So there are those exceptions, right? But also, doesn't that speak to the mentality that you have to have? Like, pro athlete, also good at art. It's like, because that plays well. Because somebody asked me about my son. He goes, "Oh, is your son like you?" I'm like, "No, he doesn't do art." And he goes, "Yeah, but there's got to be similarities." I'm like, "Oh, he's as dedicated to basketball as I am to clay."
Yep. Sure.
Like, every open minute, he's like, "How can I get my hands on a basketball?"
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I
"Yep,
remember telling my wife that when the kids were young. I said, I can't wait till the kids actually come home and they want to get better at whatever it is. Whatever,
yeah,
if they want to sit down and do scales on a piano, awesome. But
right,
it has to come from them. Like,
yeah,
take me to the range. Let me go hit golf balls because I want to get. There's that look in their eye, or you know it when you want to figure out a piece of clay. You're like,
yeah,
I'm going to do this until I get it. So I love when kids find that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's the best.
Yeah, I bet it is. As a teacher, that's got to be fantastic for you.
Yeah.
Dude, we're at like an hour and 40 minutes, man.
Okay.
You're the best. I know, and I'm still not. I'm a quarter of the way done talking to you right now. Look, we didn't touch on any of these things.
Well, I heard that I'll be invited back in a year, and we can
Yes,
cover some more of this list.
we're gonna see how people's work changes, right? Because I mean, I
I'll
think.
still be making garbage. Don't worry.
Speaking of which, I want to paint one of those bags. I want to do this
Oh
to
yeah.
those bags,
We'll see what we can do about
those
that.
garbage bags. Tony Young's gonna send me a big duck, I think.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
nice.
so send me a giant duck. I want to paint a duck. But I wrote down Kyle Guyman, Brett Kern, and Jay Rothshank. I guess I'll message
And
them.
Mitchell Spain, if you can get him there.
Mitchell Spain. I'm gonna message them and say Tim said you have to be on the show.
Oh yeah, yeah. Tell them that I demand.
Mitchell Spain, Pete, that's like Spain the country.
Yep, Spain the country. Yep.
Yeah, very cool. I'll look him up. Right on, dude. You're the best. You're fun, man. I want to chat with you more. I want to do this again. So
Yeah.
I'll shoot you a message. I'll keep in touch.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell us a couple of places we can buy your work, find your work. Where are you? Canyon Gallery, right?
Well, yeah, Companion Gallery has the Last Call show, juried by Carly Slade right now.
Good
It's
show.
going up
Yep.
tomorrow. Right? No, Saturday. Mm-hmm. What day of the week is it? And then I'm sending a couple pieces out to Black Book Gallery in Denver, Colorado.
Cool.
And then I'm sending some more stuff to Companion Gallery for their spring Ensika-ish show, as they never go anywhere. And then this weekend, I'm going to list whatever cups I have left from when I'm not sending them on my website. And there was one other one, I forget what it was. I don't know.
Are you mostly a gallery guy, or do you sell on your website, or?
I've been switching. So when I first started making functional cups, I just kind of let the galleries do their thing. And through process, I don't know how I got to this point. It's probably Brett and Mitchell nagging me too much, but I just kind of started selling on my own because at first I was like, the galleries take all the pictures, the galleries deal with the customers, the galleries do
Yeah.
all the work I don't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been pretty easy so far with the systems that they figured out and kind of told me about to sell on my own. And as my kids have gotten older, I think too, like, I'm like, hey, we got a whole bunch of cups to pack. Like, come downstairs, tape boxes, put peanuts in boxes,
Yeah.
like, and let's put some orders together. So I think as they got older, it just made it more feasible to sell some on my own. But the relationships with the galleries, like, if you can, like, that's how I got introduced with Amico. That's how I got, I got work in some people's hands that I'm still like, I can't believe that person owns my cup.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's really cool. And they just afford me other opportunities that I don't think I could navigate on my own because they are galleries.
Yeah.
Right?
I
So,
talked to Kevin Kowalczyk about that. I said I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you how it was to meet Sharon Stone because I had such a crush on her. And I said, I want to get Seth Rogen on this show. I said, he's a modern. That'd be so fun. And he goes, I'll send him a message. I said, well, yes, do that. So Seth Rogen, if you're watching, come on.
well, yeah, and Seth sent me a message. He goes, I was over at Kevin's house. I'm like, oh, of course you were.
Yeah, sure you were. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So,
No, he'd be fun to have on. He seems like a cool dude. Also, okay, so I'm excited to hear what your tip is.
so this is something I picked up in grad school, and I don't think it's emphasized enough, and we've kind of talked around it this whole time.
Yep.
But you need to make work that makes you happy. Like, and I know that seems like a lame tip, but I've watched too many people in art school flame out and burn out because they're making what they think everybody else wants them to make.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I kind of plugged along this line where people are like, maybe you should make something else. And like, even my first year in grad school, like, they're like, maybe you shouldn't make cardboard. And then it was like, okay. And that first year passed. And then I'm like, I'm making cardboard again.
Yeah.
And they were like, okay. And everybody's like, yeah, how come you haven't been doing this the whole time? And I'm like, what the hell? Like, so like every time I get a stupid idea, I have a Cadbury cream egg mug coming up that I'm going to auction off for Cadbury cream eggs. And I have the stupidest ideas, but every time like I smile about the stupid Cadbury cream egg mug, and I'm just like, it's going to be so dumb. It's going to be so dumb.
Yeah.
But like I can feel the muscles in my face smiling, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
yep, no, I'm on the right track.
Yep.
Like,
Dumb is fun.
it's so fun, and if you're not having fun, you're not doing something right. Like,
Yep. Arnold Palmer
So-
said it about golf. He said, if you're not having fun, do something else.
yeah. And when you said that on the podcast, I was like, man, that's exactly what we've been telling people since like 2009. Like, if you're not smiling, just stop.
Just why are
You're doing something wrong.
Yeah. All right. So awesome. That was a great tip. I love that. But yeah, we'll circle back around. We'll do this again.
All right.
Be super fun.
Yeah. All right.
And I look forward to meeting you in person. I'll have to.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you a high five like that.
Yeah. Well, you can either jump up or I'll kneel down. One of the two.
It's like my buddy was being a jerk last night. I said, if I was any taller, I'd poke you right in the eye. All right, dude. Nice meeting you, man. I appreciate you.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, man. Talk to you soon.
Yeah, you got it.
Bye.